To sum up CGI for me, it's growth. I expect everyone to learn. I don't care where you come in at, because I was a kid who was at a Title I school. I was the kid who had to get pull-out. I was a kid who has been retained. If somebody didn't expect growth from me, where would I be? My name is Candice Coolin. I teach third grade at a Title I school. And currently there are some very loose restrictions with kids coming from second grade to third grade. So some of my kids have limited knowledge of math facts, even the difference between a 5 and a 7 when they get there. So one of my goals at the beginning of every year is really just to make all of my kids feel comfortable. And I've got kids that those first couple of weeks, they're like, I am good at math, because my goal is to make them feel comfortable. Because CGI for me is to the point where I'm looking for the positive in everything that they do, which I think some of my kids have never had. So they're really excited about math, and they're really finding their confidence, even like that first month of school. Instead of saying, no, you did that wrong, I'm like, can you show us again? They're like, you want me to show the class? Well, yeah, everybody gonna share this year. And they're like, I'm usually not the sharer. So I see them as people that we're like 20 years in the making of somebody's mom and dad and sister and brother and teachers and doctors and lawyers, and we're building human beings is what we're doing. And to me, part of that CGI is helping them learn. A lot of what I do, I practice on my kids at home. I don't tell them I'm practicing on them, but I want to see if it works. So a couple years ago, we're at the house, you know those French toast sticks you just got to put on the tray or whatever? The whole family's in the kitchen. We're a family of 4, dogs running around. And my daughter, who was, I think, kindergarten, coming out of kindergarten, that summer of kindergarten, she's putting like the French toast sticks on there. And I'm like, make sure you get 8 for you, 8 for Bobo, that's what she calls her brother, and then 8 for your dad, because, you know, I don't eat those nasty things. I don't like them. So she's got them out on the tray, and my husband's looking at me like he can figure out I'm doing something. And I said, well, how many did you have to put on? And her answer, I remember, was like 23, but my husband's whole body was like, is she I'm like, shh, you don't say anything. You gotta let her enjoy the process. And it was, honestly, it was set up like an array. She just miscounted. And I see the value in that at home and in the classroom, letting them make those mistakes and not pointing out, you're a number off, or you didn't count that correctly. I might say, can you count it again for me? But the journey is taking me where I am learning to restrain more of me to help them become human beings, because that's what we're raising. My goal is not just to get them out of third grade. So about year 3, I was still in kindergarten, and I would start like organizing the classroom like ahead of time, where all of their manipulatives was. That way I wasn't freaking out. I knew where everything was. And when I was more relaxed, the kids were more relaxed. And when I would just watch them work, I noticed that more kids would say, can you come look at my strategy? Will you come look at my strategy? Can I share now? And that's when I really had to implement, we're all going for 4 at a time. Only 4 people can share today when we do this, because the kids were more into it. It wasn't me saying, put these 3 here, put these 3 here. I didn't tell you what number to look at. And to me, I'm like, this might actually work. So I think that was where I started to realize that there was a change. I feel like we give kids too many parameters, which limits what they can do and how they organize math skills. I remember at the beginning of CGI, I was in kindergarten and we kept saying, how do you start? You got day 1, you got little Timmy who can't even pull up his pants. I really had that happen. Kid come out of the bathroom, I can't get my pants up. I'm like, this is first week of school. How do I start this? What does it look like? And I remember being very overwhelmed with how does it look like? And I remember Googling, it's something called, I can't remember the name of, it's a fish story or whatever. And the lady, she was a kindergarten teacher, and she would take black construction paper, and the kids would get like a cup of goldfish. And she would let them eat 1 or 2 so they could figure out what it tastes like. And then she would start telling stories. There are 10 fish in the sea, and the kids would have to take the fish out, move them around, and then 2 fish fell on the floor, so now the kids get to knock them on the floor. And then they would, 2 swam in the corner. So that's how I learned to really, what does it look like? The scores are really going up at my lovely Title I school. And to me, scores aren't everything, but it still is an indication. So one of the things we talk about in our presentation is over the last 2 years, our attendance has been dismal. 65 students, 900 absences, excluding COVID. So COVID is not in that number. So now we have an issue where the kids don't have the stamina to come to school, or there's other barriers within their way, but we're still making growth. And listen, my babies blew it out the water. My scores were able to stand up to our district's average. And that was still with probably over 1,000 absences. I couldn't tell you, every week it was like a revolving door. Kids came from offline, they came online. You got COVID, you're out, I'm going to Disney World. I mean, kids out for 2 and 3 weeks. And even with all these restraints that we had, the growth was there. But I do wish the districts would adopt it. Definitely we need guidelines as teachers, but we're gonna have to make this a little bit more flexible if you really wanna see actual growth, or do you want pretend numbers? You want it to look good, or you really want it to be good? Because I've got kids who came in from Honduras speaking not a lick of English, and the level of understanding that they made was phenomenal. And the growth over the year, because it works.